Hi, this is Sky, and today is February 9th, 2023, and I have a lot to talk about today. Just to start off, 2022 was a pretty wild year for me. um, Started off with, gonna be honest, my apartment was a dump, and I kind of needed to clean it out. And I won't go into how bad that was, but it took about a month and a half to clean everything out and get everything organized. But during that process, something happened. I had kind of resolved to just, if I could not justify keeping something, and I was being very loose with how I justified keeping things, then it was going to go out. Um, well, during part of that, I found a little, it was a super mushroom shaped candy tin from Super Mario Brothers. I had initially bought it not because of the candy, but because I thought the tin was cool. I was about to throw it in the trash, but I kind of looked at it and decided that no, I like it. Uh, it's cute. I wanted to keep it. Um, so that was kind of. This might seem a little sad, but it was one of the first times in my life that I had actually thought that, oh, I deserve to have nice little things displayed just for no other purpose than I like them. And um, that kind of paved the way for, well, the project turned into not simply just cleaning, but also organizing and decorating. And that kind of led to this stuff behind me. Um, and and I gradually turned this place into something that I actually enjoy living in. Um, but of course, since that seed got planted in my brain, I also uh, had to consider uh, my happiness as a person. Um, and it started with I was realizing that uh, now I've been openly autistic my entire adult life, and I think a little bit more than that too. But I did not realize just how much I had been masking what that actually means. And it was making me unhappy. Um, I, I had to reanalyze a lot of things about how I was behaving, how I saw myself, how I thought of myself. Um, a lot of the way I was presenting myself to the world, and even privately, it wasn't to make me happy. It was to make everyone around me more comfortable with who I am, and that's something that's something that needed to change. Um, it required a lot of self-analysis and and a lot of uh, thinking back on my whole life. Um, and I was realizing a lot of trauma that I had experienced during my life that led to who I had become, and happy with. So I had to, there were a lot of um, heartfelt conversations with my mom about this. I love you, Mom, if you're watching. But, but yeah, yeah, um, I came to a realization that I need to just be myself, and and during that time, I had been readjusting how I interact with people around me, and allowing myself to stem publicly more often, allow myself to make social mistakes, and um, and tell people more about how it is that I approach the world and how I approach interactions. And it also enabled me to come to terms with some of my sensory difficulties. I made a habit out of wearing headphones, noise canceling headphones, when I went grocery shopping. And eventually I had bought a nicer pair of headphones, and I ended up starting to use those almost everywhere in public, because it shuts out background noise, um, and makes it easier for me to be in crowded areas for longer periods of time. I also purchased a pair of sunglasses that I thought were kind of cool and stylish. That came along with another thing that I'm going to be bringing up here in a bit. But the sunglasses, it started as a fashion accessory, but I started noticing that they really help with bright lights and flashing lights. And I started noticing just how obnoxiously bright the world is. And so now when I'm in public spaces, I have sunglasses on until they get in the way of seeing as well as I need to see. So essentially, I allowed myself to think and to display to the world I have a sensory disability. I use sensory aids for it. Well, the sunglasses, as I mentioned, were part of a major turning point that happened in August. I remember the date, August 21st. I suddenly started feeling so much better about myself. The way I was presenting myself to the world no longer fit how I felt about myself. For at least 3 decades of my life, I had been wearing baggy jeans and a loose, untucked T-shirt that gradually was covering a gradually larger and larger stomach, and I just kind of it didn't feel right anymore. And so that day, August 21st, I went out and bought several short-sleeved button-up shirts that I started wearing over the t-shirts, which I started tucking in. Also the sunglasses I mentioned. And essentially I was trying to reinvent myself. Part of that process, I bought myself a bottle of black nail polish. This isn't black, but it was at the time. Because was curious how I'd feel about wearing nail polish. And so I tried it out, loved it immediately, started buying more colors and glitter because I kind of like glitter. Uh, and and uh, that felt good. Essentially, the goal was to prove that a cis straight guy can wear glitter nail polish. Um, Problem with that. uh, as I started wearing that, I started noticing more and more that that feels actually feminine to me. And that felt good, which was really confusing. And I started asking myself, am I trans? No, because I like being a guy. Spoiler alert, I didn't. Didn't know it at the time, but yeah. Well, after after that started happening, I started thinking, well, let's let's look again tomorrow. And sure enough, the next morning it didn't feel any more feminine than normal, which yes, I understand the problem with that line of reasoning now. But but then one of those nights that I was noticing that I I started thinking to myself, does this count as non-binary? And so I started thinking about that and thinking back on the entire rest of my life again, noticing that in fact, there has been a lot of stuff throughout uh, my childhood, especially, um, uh, but also through my teenage years and my adulthood, where yes, I actually do enjoy femininity, um, and wasn't ready to give up this thought of masculinity at the time. Um, but little things like I liked girls' toys, I liked boys' toys too, but also girls' toys. And when I was a kid, my mom had bought some dress-up clothes for my sister and me, and um, she just bought a bunch of stuff from St. Vinny's or something. And I remember really liking the dresses that were part of that. There was one in particular, a turquoise dress. That, I'm sure there's a picture of me wearing it somewhere as a kid, but I don't know. But and other times uh, I'd go to events in the local autism community, and especially Halloween themed things, and would have costume elements there to play with. I would often grab a wig and present myself kind of feminine because that was fun. Didn't know what that might mean at the time. Also, some of these model making projects, like, well, this is a Nerf gun. I enjoy doing things like taking these apart and painting them and aestheticizing them. And it's a toy, but I also made this one. This one, I felt the need to justify this, but I unironically like this aesthetic. These things feel feminine to me. That's part of the draw. September 10th is when 2022 is when I came out as non-binary. I was still presenting masculine, but I had realized that the role of man was part of my autism mask, and that meant that was something about myself that I needed to change. And because I have to be true to myself. The hard part about all of this was telling my girlfriend. Thankfully, she has been very supportive the entire process, and she has been very accepting through the entire process. And I can't believe how lucky I am. And frankly, I can't believe that most of this is happening. But with gender identity, yes, I came out as non-binary. But that also meant that I had to explore and find out what it is that I actually like and who I actually am. And I kept moving in a more feminine direction the entire time. Every time I tried to pull back towards more masculine, it just felt wrong. And I had even, well, I'll save that for later. I had been wearing skirts when possible for most of this time after coming out as non-binary. But, you know, as I got more feminine, I started realizing that, okay, maybe I'm actually 50-50. Of course, shortly after I came out, I changed to they, them pronouns. But yes, I thought I was leaning more masculine, but then I realized, no, I'm more 50-50. But I kept going, and eventually I had to come to terms with the idea that, no, I'm a femme. I'm trans femme. And at a certain point, I had always intended to go back to using gendered pronouns. I initially went to they, them, just because I didn't want to be exclusively he, him with anyone, but I really didn't have a problem with any gendered pronouns at the time. Well, the time came, I want to say late November, to start thinking about gendered pronouns again. Masculine pronouns didn't feel right anymore. So I adopted she, they pronouns. I was still identifying as non-binary. But, you know, I knew I wasn't going to stop where I was. And I was going to keep going and figure out what I liked. Well, at a certain point, I want to say about Halloween, I realized I had resolved to lose some weight too. But I realized that as I was losing weight, I was seeing a very male figure emerging. And I did not like that. Well, Well, I went on Amazon, bought some silicone breast forms, and I decided not to wear those uh, for transition videos because I want to be able to see what happens as it goes. I also eventually bought some hip enhancers, and as it turns out, I really like the figure that I get from those. And around December, I had to start thinking, am I a woman? Well, about mid-December, I started actually trying it out, and I had adopted she, her pronouns. Um, kind of stealth in that case. I didn't go around telling everyone, but I did start introducing myself with she, her pronouns. And when people started calling me he or him, I was correcting them with the feminine pronouns. Um, Around that time, I also started looking in the mirror and just saying, I am a woman, just to see how it feels. It did not feel wrong or really uncomfortable, but it felt weird. So I resolved to keep doing it and see what happened when I got used to thinking of myself in that much feminine terms. I did that for about a week and a half before I told anyone out loud. Um, and around Christmas time was when I told my girlfriend out loud. She wasn't surprised by then, but it felt like a big step to me. I told her I'm a woman. Thank goodness she is still perfectly fine with all of this. I love her so much. Um, but well, the thing that I want to say, and this is the really exciting bit. So during this time, I had decided that I wanted to start taking hormone replacement therapy. I made a call during the week after Christmas, um, fully expecting to be put on a waiting list of several months. Uh, there was a cancellation, and they were able to get me in that Friday. And during the appointment, I was asked when I first realized I was in the wrong body, and well, you know, I immediately disputed the phrasing because I don't consider myself in the wrong body. I just think my body did some things that it turns out I didn't like. They don't work for me. And well, yes, I would much prefer to have a female body. Um, yes, well, that's kind of what it is. Um, then I proceeded to tell basically my life story. And before I could even finish, the doctor said that the next time she saw me, she could prescribe estrogen and a testosterone blocker. Well, I had the follow-up appointment yesterday, and today I picked up my first round of estrogen, testosterone blocker, and progesterone. So that that is what I am here to talk about, and I will be taking those from here on out, um, uh, with whatever changes my doctor recommends as we go. And my current plan is to make weekly updates. And even if there isn't anything transition wise to talk about, um, I, I think it will be very easy for me to find other things to talk about. Um, General transition wise, uh, demasking, and just general trans and autism subjects that are on my mind. And that is all I have at the moment. I think next time if there isn't anything that comes up before then, I think that I will discuss plans for the future. Bye.